The man who once had to smile as his family was erased, a boy named Caligula. And the story isn't what you think. It's not a simple tale of a mad king. It is a terrifying, chilling account of how one traumatized person turned the vast, powerful Roman state into a machine designed with surgical precision to destroy the human soul. If you believe that the documented records of history's greatest moral warnings must be remembered, consider liking this video and subscribing. Your support unearths more accounts from the human heart under pressure. Now, stay with me. Because the true horror of Caligula isn't what he did, but how he made an entire civilization complicit in its own moral downfall. The system he built survived him. Before we look at the machine, we need to understand the blueprint, the broken boy who designed it. He wasn't born evil. He was manufactured. Picture this. The year is 14 AD. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, runs through a Roman military camp. He's wearing a miniature legionary uniform, complete with tiny armor and little red boots. The soldiers, battle-hardened men who've conquered half the world, are laughing, picking him up. They call him Caligula, Little Boots. He is the son of Germanicus, a general the entire empire adored. The men worship his father, and they adore this child. He's their mascot, protected by the most powerful army on earth. He's growing up thinking he's invincible, loved, and absolutely secure. He has no idea what's coming. 1 year later, his father dies. The whispered story: poison, ordered by someone close to the emperor. Caligula is 8 years old when the machine of state begins destroying his family, piece by piece. His mother is dragged from their home, accused of treason. His oldest brother is imprisoned and starved. His second brother is exiled, tortured until he smashed his own head against the walls to end it. One by one, they are erased. And young Caligula watches it all happen. By the time he is 19, he is the last one left. The sole, terrified survivor. Then comes the summons. Emperor Tiberius, the man he suspects ordered the murders, wants him on his fortress island of Capri. He goes. He knows that one wrong look, one moment of grief, one flash of anger, and he's dead. So he doesn't just survive, he excels at submission. He watches, he studies, he becomes exactly what Tiberius wants: obedient, entertaining, and harmless. For 6 years, he plays this role perfectly. He learns to bury everything human inside him. He learns how a monster operates. He learns that the greatest power is not the power to kill, but the power to humiliate and force complicity. In 37 AD, Tiberius dies, and the 19-year-old hostage is now the most powerful person on earth. Rome celebrates, thinking they are getting the son of their beloved general. They have no idea they've just crowned a man who spent 6 years learning how to break human beings from the greatest moral monster in Roman history. And for 7 months, everything seems perfect. Then he gets sick. And when he wakes up, something inside him had fundamentally shattered. What I'm about to describe isn't random violence. It's not the acts of a madman. It is a systematic, chilling blueprint for tyranny by humiliation. Caligula built a system, 5 distinct acts of psychological warfare, each one designed to destroy a different part of the human spirit. Act 1, the criminalization of grief. Caligula had 3 sisters, but one, Drusilla, was different. Whether their bond was what the ancient sources whispered, what matters is that she was his anchor. And then Drusilla died. Caligula takes his private, agonizing pain and forces an entire empire to experience it. He doesn't just mourn, he weaponizes mourning. First, he has the Senate declare her a goddess. Now, an entire civilization is required to worship his personal loss. Then, he declares a period of universal mourning. And here's where the cruelty becomes systemic: it is now a capital crime to laugh. It is a capital crime to bathe. It is a capital crime to share a simple dinner with your family. Imagine living like that. Every moment of simple, human joy becomes a potential death sentence. Your child tells a joke at breakfast. Do you laugh? Or do you correct them for being a child, for the possibility of a soldier hearing them? He is making Rome feel his internal state. He learns he can legislate emotion, criminalize happiness, and make his inner world everyone's devastating reality. Once he realizes he can control how people feel, he starts experimenting with what else he can take from them. Act 2, The Assault on Honor. In Roman society, a nobleman's entire identity was built on family honor. Their lineage, their name, it meant everything. Caligula understood this perfectly. To destroy a man, you don't destroy his body, you destroy his reputation and his legacy. Ancient accounts record an act of such profound, systematic degradation targeting Rome's noble families that historians still struggle to comprehend it. He allegedly forced the sons and daughters of the aristocracy, the people who commanded legions and ruled provinces, into inescapable, humiliating circumstances. He then, allegedly, meticulously kept ledgers. Detailed records. The bureaucratic accounting of human degradation. Think about the senator. He can lose a battle, he can lose money, he can lose a province, and still maintain his standing. But when the ledger exists, when the permanent, bureaucratic record of his family's utter debasement is kept by the state, his reputation is not just damaged, it is erased. He's not just taking their bodies or their wealth. He's taking the one thing Roman aristocracy valued more than life itself, their name. Act 3, The Complicity of Silence. This act is less about the emperor and more about the senators, the people who should have stopped him. Imagine a simple, brutal moment at an imperial banquet. You are a senator. You are sitting with your wife, surrounded by all of your peers. The room is filled with fine food and the overpowering smell of fear. The emperor stands. He walks slowly between the tables, stops at yours, and takes your wife's hand. He leads her away. You cannot move. You cannot speak. If you object, if you show any emotion at all, you won't leave the room alive. And neither will she. And neither will your children. So you sit. You drink. You wait. When he finally brings her back, he sits down too. And in front of everyone, your friends, your colleagues, your rivals, he begins to describe the encounter. He is describing the ruin of your dignity to your face. And you have to smile. You have to laugh at his jokes. You have to nod like this is perfectly normal. He is not just violating one person, he is destroying you, your ability to protect your family, your authority, your dignity, in front of everyone who matters. And tomorrow, you have to come back, smile at these same people, and pretend nothing happened. The genius of the machine is that it makes everyone a witness to everyone else's degradation, shattering the social contract itself. Act 4, The Forbidding of Grief. Caligula realized there was one bond even stronger than the social contract, the bond between parent and child. He began executing people. Not always for treason. Often, just because he was bored. And he developed a new, chilling protocol. If he was executing a man's son, the father had to watch. Up close. Front row. But here is the final step in the systematic torture, as recorded by the historian Suetonius. Immediately after the execution, the father was brought to the imperial palace for dinner. That night, the body is still cooling. The father is sitting at the emperor's table. And the emperor watches him. Just watches, studying his face. He's checking to see if the father will cry. If he'll show grief. Any sign of pain. Because if he does, the emperor knows he hasn't broken him completely. So the father sits there, eating food he can't taste, making conversation he can't hear, while the man who ordered his son killed is analyzing his facial expressions for entertainment. He's not just taking your child. He's taking your right to grieve. He's turning the deepest human bond, love, into a source of terror instead of comfort. The more you care, the more vulnerable you are, the more power he has to hurt you. He's making love itself dangerous. Caligula was so confident in his system, so certain that fear would always win, that he made one fatal error. He aimed his casual, everyday cruelty at the wrong type of person, a soldier. His name was Cassius Dio, a senior officer in the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal bodyguards. These are the elite, the men who stand inches from the emperor every single day, armed, trained, and lethal. Cheria had a physical characteristic that Caligula found endlessly amusing, a high-pitched voice. And Caligula, true to his machine, couldn't let it go. Every day, new jokes. New mockery. When it was Cheria's turn to ask for the daily military password, Caligula would assign him deliberately mocking words. Day after day, week after week. For Caligula, it was throwaway humor, a simple instrument of his power. For Cheria, every joke was a drop of poison accumulating inside a man trained for violence. Caligula had made a calculation error. Senators could be humiliated because they still wanted to live. They had children and estates worth protecting. They could rationalize survival. But Cheria was a soldier. And Caligula had just taught him that life under this emperor wasn't worth living. He forgot the most basic rule of predators: never corner something that can kill you. What happened next took less than 60 seconds, but it was a primal act of rebellion that changed the course of Roman history. January 24, 41 AD. Caligula is attending the theater. Around midday, he leaves through a narrow, dimly lit underground corridor. The conspirators are waiting. Cheria steps forward as the emperor approaches, a normal military check-in. The emperor, completely unaware, secure in his invincibility, gives one final, sneering, mocking response. It's the last thing he ever says. Cheria screams, "Take this," and drives his sword up under the emperor's ribs. 30 stab wounds, according to the sources. 4 years of accumulated rage, humiliation, and terror, released in 60 seconds of frenzied, righteous violence. The monster is dead. The monster was dead, but the machine wasn't. For a few hours, the Senate debated restoring the Republic. Getting rid of emperors entirely. For the first time in generations, there was a discussion about what Rome should be. And then the Praetorian Guard, the army, made a decision. While the Senate was talking about ideals, the guard found a man hiding behind a curtain in the palace. Claudius, Caligula's limping, stuttering uncle. They looked at him and didn't see a fool, they saw a new operator for the machine. They carried Claudius on their shoulders and proclaimed him emperor. The system survived. Caligula ruled for less than 4 years. A blip in Roman history. And yet, 2,000 years later, we're still talking about him. Why? Because Caligula proved something terrifying and necessary to remember about power. He showed that the entire machinery of a state, its laws, its military, its bureaucracy, can be turned into instruments of personal, psychological warfare. He didn't work outside the system. He made the system his weapon. The ledgers that documented the degradation? That was bureaucracy doing its job. The forced mourning? That was law enforcement doing its job. Every atrocity he committed was technically legal, because he was the law. And when he died, the system didn't die with him. It just found a new operator. That is the real moral horror. Not that one man was a monster, but that the machine he built kept running without him. Look at what came after: Nero, Domitian, Commodus. The blueprint remained. The machine kept evolving. Caligula revealed a truth about power that Rome could never unlearn: when one person controls everything, the military, the law, the economy, the culture, there is no mechanism to stop them. No checks, no balances. Nothing but waiting for a soldier like Cassius Dio to find a moment of courage where the fear of living under the system finally outweighs the fear of dying to break it. That is the real lesson for us today. The machine of tyranny is not about one madman. It is about a moral complacency that allows the systems we build for order to be turned into instruments of absolute cruelty. Caligula ruled for 3 years, 9 months, and 8 days. In that time, he built a machine that showed every future tyrant exactly how to break human beings systematically, psychologically, and completely. And the blueprint never disappeared. Which leaves us with one final, profound question: if you lived in that time, what single line would you refuse to cross? What would you do to ensure the machine of law and order never becomes the machine of absolute terror?